I think out of all the new leaders that were introduced in OP15, Brook is by far one of the most interesting. So tonight we're taking him to locals to see what he's all about. Let's go. Let's talk about Brook. Brook is one of the newest leaders in OP15 and by far one of the most unique leaders out of OP15. Brook's leader effect is super cool. Every single turn we are able to trash 4 cards from the top of our deck. Brook also has an interesting line of text on him where when our deck reaches 0, we actually don't lose in that moment. Rather, we lose at the end of the turn that our deck hits 0. This is really important. If by trashing those cards or if our deck's already at 0, we get to stand one of our characters. We can also combo this with the 6-drop Brook, which means that technically on that last turn we can swing 3 times with a really big body. Here's the list that we're going to be playing tonight. And you'll notice that I'm actually running 2 of the Law and Beppos. I just think Beppo is a really great card, and I think going to a 9k leader on our opponent's turn is kind of really good. I'll be totally honest, I have no idea how this deck is going to perform tonight, but I'm just really excited to finally be able to play it. So I'll see y'all guys at the locals. Let's go. We are officially at locals. Our first round, we ended up pairing into Mihawk. This was the one leader I was not expecting tonight, and honestly, I didn't know that Brook was Slash, so I'm already just super worried. He wins die roll, of course, elects to go first, and honestly, my hand is just not that crazy. I end up top decking a Searcher, which is super huge in this matchup, but I'm not always finding exactly what I need. I just grab a Chopper. I figured that because his leader is bigger and I need to save time until I get to Nightmare Luffy, I just end up playing a Zoro blocker, blocking with it, then playing Docking 6, and then playing the Zoro back out from trash. Now, the one key about this hand that is good, I have 2 Law and Beppos sitting in my hand. This is really great because with Nightmare Luffy, that means that my leader is 9k, which makes it really hard for him to get there. My opponent is just going wide. They play double Tashigi, and they just start swinging 8s at me, and it just feels really, really bad. But luckily, the key difference, I think, in this matchup was that he didn't have a Shanks. So on my Tendon turn, I go into Law Beppo, I freeze, I go to a 9k leader, I try to protect my Nightmare Luffy, and then I'm able to get a second Law and Beppo down. Of course, my opponent plays another Law Beppo because it's the best play, but as I'm looking at my trash, I actually have enough. And on top of that, I have a 6-drop Brook in my hand, which means that even though his leader is technically 8k, I can still swing really, really big a bunch of times, and my opponent only had 1 Don up. So I start swinging numbers, and we're just able to get there somehow. Now, my opponent tells me that, of course, he didn't have exactly what he needed, and we really needed that to happen for us to get the dub in this matchup. There are a lot of people here tonight that are playing OP15, so we're just gonna have to see what happens. But with that being said, I'll see y'all guys in round 2, and let's go. We are back after round 2, and if you can't tell, I'm a little red in the face, and it's mainly because of the end of this game. So I pair into Nami. This is a deck that I'm somewhat familiar with. Also, fair warning, I don't have any footage from the beginning of this round because I accidentally didn't set my camera to record for some reason. It ends up picking up in like my 3rd turn or something like that. Regardless, my opponent's able to go first. I have to go second, and looking at my first hand, it's not bad, but there's really no early searching. There's no Beppo, there's not really a lot of reason for me to keep it, so I put it back. I don't draw into any searchers, really any of our top end, no Nami, no nothing. I'm just not feeling too great about this matchup with the hand that I have. I end up playing down a double attack Luffy, but I misplay in a way because I swing 5 with my leader first and then play Luffy. For some reason, I thought it had rush, so I was going to swing big double attack, but that was my 6th on turn, so it's not like I played it off of Nami, I just played Luffy. So I stand for Don, and I just play a blocker Zoro because I don't want to just keep all of that wasted Don up. The game keeps going, and he plays an 8-drop Rush Luffy. This was a card that I know was played a little bit in Nami beforehand, but not one now, and man, it scared me. So it ends up bouncing my 4-drop Zoro blocker, and I'm just like, uh-oh. When I go into my Nami turn, for some reason, I go for a second double attack Luffy, and it's mainly because he's at an even number of life, and I really don't want to give him Nico. eco Robin. The issue with this that I realized in my next turn is that even after my leader effect to trash, I don't have another Nami in my trash, which means that even if I have this chopper, there's no way I can do it. I didn't get to play a single copy of Nightmare Luffy down. I ended up making a really bad misplay where I had the opportunity to block with my Zoro before he swung that Luffy that could bounce it, and I didn't block, and then he ended up just bouncing my blocker, and I went down to 1 life, and at this point, he's at 0 life, but the issue is that he has a 10 beard. All I have is this double attack Luffy, an 8-drop Nami, and my leader. I end up playing down this chopper on my 10 Don turn. I grab back the Brook and play it. I end up resting their blocker. I only have 2 Don to work with, so I swing 5 first with my leader, and then I swing 9 with my Luffy, and he counters it, and then I restand with Brook, and he has 4 cards in his hand. It's not looking good, so I just use Brook's effect. I restand my 9k swing with my double attack Luffy. I swing, and he pitches 2 cards, so I just give him a fist bump thinking the game's over, but he only had 2 1ks, so I had exactly enough to get the dub. Shout out my opponent because he really wanted to play Nami, and he is still missing a lot of stuff for his deck. Yeah, he still played it because he loved the deck. But regardless, we are 2-0 right now heading into round 3, and I know things are about to start getting really tough for us, but I'll see y'all guys after that, and let's go. All right, guys, we are back after round 3, and I wish I was coming with some better news. And I know normally I don't like saying how the game turns out before we explain through it, but y'all, this was just bad. I'm playing against my good friend Robin, who is on yellow Luffy. This is not the new yellow Luffy. This is the starter deck 6 life Luffy. So I ended up winning die roll. I don't know if it was a mistake, but I chose to go first just because I want to start swinging first, try to get their life down. I can play Nightmare Luffy on my 7 Dawn turn. It just seems good. I look at my opening hand. It's okay, but it's really not that great. I have 2 of my 5 drops, which are bricks, and that's just not a good sign. I need to be able to protect myself so that we can get into the late game. And so I end up mulling. The hand that I mull into, while yes, it does have a searcher, it is missing a lot of things. And while I have an 8-drop Nami, which is wonderful, and I already have the Nightmare Luffy set up in trash, the issue comes whenever I can't find any counter in my hand. I end up playing my Nightmare Luffy out on curve, so I'm a 7k leader. Out of my hand, I have absolutely 0 counter in it, and I have to end up taking all of my life on that turn. I try to piece together a blocker, maybe a way for me to live, but he's already at 6 life again, and there's just no way. So we end up taking the L in that game. Honestly, I'm not sure if that's a bad matchup for Brook. I just feel like my hand wasn't fantastic. So hopefully we end up drawing better hands going forward. We are currently 2-1, and we should have 1 more round. So our hope is just that we do as good as we can, and we'll just see what ends up happening. So I will see y'all guys after round 4, and let's go. Alrighty guys, so we just wrapped up our final round of locals tonight. I sit down against my really good friend Brian Ty, and he is playing blue yellow Nami. Now if you remember earlier, we had a really close call with blue yellow Nami, so I wasn't feeling the most confident. I had to go second, and of course I didn't have any Law and Beppos in my hand. I was able to stick a Nightmare Luffy and actually keep it on board, which was really important. I also kind of understood from my game earlier that the double attack Luffy is super important in this matchup. Sure, our opponent can heal, but double attack is just super strong. Now, not having Beppo is definitely a worry of mine. Now, Brian Ty is playing the Thriller Bark version of Nami. The deck is just super solid. Luckily for me, I'm able to swing that double attack Luffy without worrying about him stunning anything else. He ends up playing a Timbeard, and honestly, this just kind of complicates a lot of the rest of the game. I have a double attack Luffy, but I'm always worried that even if I swing 9 or 11 with it, he can always just block. I only have 3 cards in deck, so maybe I try to live, but with the Timbeard as well as the Gecko Moria and me only having 1 life, I know that I'm not living another turn. So I go for a 9k swing with my Luffy, and he ends up blocking. I end up playing the Nami to play a double attack Luffy from my trash and stand forward on. I was really worried about what numbers to swing to make it correct. So I just ended up swinging a good number on my Luffy and it connected. This was a lot of the issue because he was already showing a Piranha in life. And so knowing that he can't stun my last 2 attacks, maybe I can get there. I end up going 7 with my Nami, which he ends up countering out of. He's got 1 life and all I have is this Nightmare Luffy at 2 swings. I do have a Dawn up to make this Nightmare Luffy an 11k swing, which is a magic number, but I'm still pretty worried. So I swing 11, I use Brook's effect to mill out the rest of my deck. I restand and swing 11, and he doesn't have enough when we get there. I ended up grabbing 5th place. We ended up going 3 wins and 1 loss. While sure, it could be better, I still had an amazing time, and I definitely think that if you're gonna play in this OP15 meta, you definitely have to try Brook out at least one time. Sure, the deck struggles, but it's honestly just a ton of fun. With that being said, God bless. I'll see y'all guys in the next one, and let's go.